My guest today is Connor Williams. Connor is the president of Ashton Plumbing, a 130-person plumbing, heating, and air conditioning business, a business his parents started nearly 40 years ago. In this episode, we get into what it actually is like to take over a family business, the imposter syndrome piece, the years of asking whether he was worthy of leading people who had known him since he was a kid, and how he built a division of the company from the ground up so he could earn that seat of leadership. Great conversation. Connor's a great guy and just gets real about leadership. Here he is.
Yeah, my name is Connor Williams. I'm the president of Ashton Mechanical. We're a plumbing, heating, and air conditioning business in Richmond, British Columbia. I've been in the business for 20 years. I started when I was 15 years old, so quite a while. My mom and dad started the company in 1987. We're approaching our 40th year in business, which is exciting for us. Took over full time from my father 2 years ago now as the president, and it's been mostly good, but an interesting couple of years.
Yeah. How did it come about to make the decision to step into the family business? Because I know a lot of folks decide not to.
I didn't really have much choice in the beginning. When you're 15 years old, it's a really good job to have, being in the trades. It was paying, even though there was some nepotism, it would have paid more than the average 15-year-old's job, right? So I was quite happy to work in the family business, making at that time like $18, $19 an hour. That was a lot of money for a kid in high school, and so that's what I did. And then there was probably some tax advantages for my parents as well too. Back in the days of income splitting and all that stuff, right? So they had their reasons for it. And my dad had, sort of talked as if we were going to work together kind of forever, because I was the oldest and the only son, and just sort of a thing you do. And then I went to university, and as I studied, I didn't really want to go into the family business. I wasn't really interested in it. I realized I wasn't really that handy, not that good with my hands. And being that it's a trade, for whatever reason, we have this reputation of being tough on young people, as if you have to sort of, I don't know if hazing's the right word, but you have to be tough on them because, you want them to perform a certain way. And it's just like a rite of passage. It's just how you were. And so you had this element of the guys being tough, but also thinking in your brain, when are you ever going to convince this tough group of men that you are somehow deserving of leading them? And so you wrestle with this in your mind, and you go to school and you come back, you go to school and you come back, and you think, I'll never convince these guys that I'm worthy of leading them. They're all set in their ways, and I'm always just going to be a kid to them because they've known me since I was a baby. So I just was mentally defeating myself. I'm never going to do this. So I was like, well, I'm going to do something else. So I originally wanted to become a player's agent in the NHL. I don't know why I wanted to do that. I guess I always liked the idea of working in professional sports. I loved hockey and thought this would be a cool job. So I'll become a lawyer, and then I'll become a player's agent. And by the time I reached my fourth year, I had pretty decent grades. I was ready to go to law school. Then I met my wife, who was in the business program, and she looked at my situation, and she was like, do you really want to be a lawyer? Do you know how much reading there is in law? And I was like, it can't be that much. I just finished a Bachelor of Arts. Like it's not that difficult. She's like, no, like read some of the books. Like, so I read a few of the books and could barely keep my eyes open through, Canadian constitutional law. Um, and she was like, why wouldn't you take over your family business? Like everybody would kill to have an opportunity like you have. Like it's small enough, you can grow it, you can make an impact, makes money. Like your parents don't have anyone to pass it down to. Your sisters aren't interested in it. Like, I don't know. She's like, this just seems kind of silly that you wouldn't want to pursue it. And pretty much anything my wife said, even today, is a good idea. And I listen to what she has to say. So, I said, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll give it a try. So I, at that point, just decided that this is what I would do.
And what did those first steps look like as you decided, like, yeah, I'm going to give this a shot? Like, what did the business look like, and where were you kind of stepping into the business?
Yeah, so I would have been, I don't know, 23. I went and did a business degree after because I knew that I needed to do that. So I had some prerequisites done, and I was able to fast track a business degree because I'd done quite a bit at UVic before that. And when I came out, it was all about sales at that point. That was kind of the only place that made sense to go into the business that wasn't a technician. So I worked in property management sales. So I would sell maintenance agreements to property managers. So we'd sell contracts for buildings, which
And
is
how big was the business at that point?
Probably 30 employees.
Okay.
Yeah, still like pretty decent size, but nowhere near where it is today. Yeah, about 30 employees. And I sold maintenance agreements for a couple of years, and I was pretty good at it, and I enjoyed it, and I still do that. Anytime we have a really large building that we're doing a proposal for, I always find a way to get in there at this point because it's exciting for me and I enjoy it, and it's an important function to our business. So I'm glad I spent some years learning that. And then after a couple of years there, my dad really wanted to start a retail residential business, B2C. And it was good timing to start one because, the government was starting to come out with a lot of incentives for, heat pump rebates and water heater rebates and things like that. So it was a good time. And he kind of went about it a weird way. I was kind of just watching. I wasn't really involved in it, but he found this organization called Nexstar, which is like a best practice group, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning contractors in the States. And they have a formula or like a process, a 6-step process. It's a service system that you follow. And there's a whole business model of how you're supposed to operate these businesses. And it was completely different than the way we were doing it. And he had all 30 people from the company go into a room, and we had this trainer come out, and it was like, I don't know how you describe it. It was like he was trying to convince all these people. It was like you had a group of Christians, and you were just trying to convert them to Islam or something, right? Like it was like really, really difficult task to try and convince these people that this is the way to do our business now. I was like, this is not working. There's a lot of resistance.
And yeah, and when you say they were trying to convert them into like completing the work a different way or selling a different way, like what was the change?
Yeah, I mean, like at that point in time, 95% of our revenue came from commercial service. So we would do work in building, and the technician would talk to boiler room Bob or Mr. Property Manager on the phone, and that was it. We'd send an invoice, they'd pay the invoice, the tech would never have to deal with money, didn't have to take off their shoes and go into somebody's house or put on shoe covers, like none of that stuff. Now all of a sudden you have somebody coming in and saying, every single one of you moving forward is going to be focused on going into Mrs. Jones's house and selling her a new water heater and all the other things that go along with that, and got to get 5-star reviews and sell memberships. And everybody's like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, so it was a bit of a weird way to approach it. So it didn't really take. And my dad was very discouraged by this. So he hired a general manager who had a retail residential business and had a lot of experience in this. And the guy's first observation was, yeah, this isn't going to work the way you've done it. What you have to do is you have to either buy a small company or you have to start really small with a small group of technicians, and you got to slowly grow it over time. And my dad was like, no, this is how I want to run my company. We're going to do it this way. And so the gentleman came to me and was like, look, I don't know what you know about this business or what you know about how your dad's trying to do this, but he's not listening to me, and there's only one person he seems to listen to. So that's you. You have to convince him, or I'm out of here, basically. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, how do you foresee this going? He's like, well, you come work for me. I'll teach you everything you need to know. I've got some employees from a different company that are ready to come over. We just need to find a handful of people here that actually believe in what it is that your dad wants to do, and we'll do it. All right. So I told him that we have to separate the businesses. They have to be two different businesses. Like, this is a good dream you have, but the way that you're dreaming it up is wrong. And he agreed. And so he let us do it, and we grabbed our laptops and moved downstairs and interviewed everybody that felt like being interviewed. Some people told us to F off, and I had a bit of a background in psychology, so we did some personality testing and basically just found people that were charismatic and outgoing,
more suited to that customer interaction side of things.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't rocket science. It didn't. Yeah. The conversations were pretty easy to pick up on who was ready for it, and off we went. And then we worked together for 2 or 3 years and built it from nothing into something. And then he retired and left it to me to keep going. And yeah.
And what did that growth look like?
Pretty fast, honestly. Like, we went from 0 to 5 million in probably, I don't know, 3-4 years. Like, pretty quick. We had a pretty big customer base already, and the 2 salesmen that we had were really good. They just really took to the system, and the leads were pretty plentiful. And we had some really good installers that he was able to bring over from another company. So it went pretty fast, honestly. But then, it had some ups and downs and difficulty along the way. Success is not a straight up and to the right.
Yeah. And on that note, what was the kind of hardest period of time or challenge for you within that phase, like stepping in to lead that and growing it to where it got to?
There was a couple challenging periods in the early days. I think quality control was difficult because the sales were, I wouldn't say they were easy, but they were the easier part of the business at that point. And then the original install teams that we had, they didn't stick around. And so I had to continuously rebuild that install team. And there was a lot of attrition. For whatever reason, that was a hard component to staff. Um, the job is difficult. You're in an attic all summer long. You're hanging off the side of a building. You're in the rain all winter long. It's it's a difficult job, and guys' bodies break down, and so there was constantly this evolution of people would get tired of the job and they'd be kind of nasty to deal with. And so the youngest guys would watch that, like as they got trained. And so it's like there became this expectation that after a certain amount of time, it just runs its course, and these people
becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, it's just like a cycle.
Yeah.
That
I
gets
got
followed.
stuck in that for like 4 years, 5 years. It was brutal.
And are you out of it now?
Yeah. It's
I'm fascinated with like how did you break that cycle?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like many, many different things over time. But it was two things. It was speed and quality of execution, but also like turnover of the techs. So in install, you want to be able to go as fast as humanly possible with the highest quality of work. Like those two things need to intersect, and you can't have one sacrificing the other. Like it needs to be in balance, but you can't take too long. Like you got to get it done because people need their system up and running. And if you're constantly accepting that jobs run over the budget, then you don't ever make any money. So we what we did was we really focused on the guys that were really fast and did really high quality work. And we just continuously paired them up with new guys so that everybody on the team could see what was possible. It's not like, shaming or anything. It's just like this guy's leading by example, that he's able to do this type of work. And if we felt that there was anybody on the team that was saying, hey, that guy's going too fast, he's a problem, and we caught wind of that, we would fire that person.
It was just kind of like, in my head, it's like polishing the stone. It's just like over enough time, you found the right people that could kind of train and communicate stuff, but it took a number of years to kind of like find those right people that could onboard them and keep the culture different.
Yeah. And before I wasn't like as skilled at management. So I would be so worried that I'd lose that technical competency that I would let some negative behavior go. Whereas, we wouldn't like immediately get rid of somebody. We would give them an opportunity to change their attitude, obviously, but like that attitude's not in alignment with what we're trying to achieve. So if you're not going to get on board, you can't be here, kind of deal. And so that's really important. Is just setting the expectation, and then us supporting them along the way of how can we make their life easier, right? We built installation kits for them that have everything they could possibly need on a job. And their van also has everything they could possibly need. So even if they went through all the stuff in their van one day and they didn't have time to replenish it, at least these kits have everything they need. And they could bring these kits physically to where they were working. And so that sped things up quite a lot for them. And they didn't have to deal with any returns anymore. Returns were a big challenge, right? They'd come back and they'd be sorting through stuff. And our kits come back and we replenish what's taken. So we don't need to count the return. So it was listening to them. How do we make it easier for them? How do we support them to go faster and do better quality work? Just like chipping away at that year after year after year. And I'm proud to say that the installers we have right now, we have, I think, 5 of our 6 full-time guys have been here for more than 3 years on the install team, which is like really, really solid.
Mm-hmm. I had a question about that mentality of you didn't want to let people go because you'd be losing some of that technical capacity or capability. And I feel like that's something I've seen and felt personally, businesses that I've run. It's like, oh, this guy's can do the work, but like maybe there's a couple edges or things that we'd want to change. Like, what would you share with somebody that's in that state? They're maybe a little bit scarcity minds. Like, I don't want to lose this guy, but at the same time, it's costing me headaches because they're not great in these areas. Like, how did you shift through that phase or mindset?
Oh man, it's such a tough. That's a situational one that's very difficult. Uh, a lot of times, I would probably just keep the person when I shouldn't have. Um, yeah,
When you say shouldn't have, like, how would you know you shouldn't have kept them?
I mean, if somebody's doing something unethical, it's really easy to let them go, right? Like that, that's just the way it is. But if somebody's like, they're not unethical, they're probably actually really ethical. Like they do things really well, like a certain way, but they're just not collaborative, or they don't work well with others, or maybe they make comments that are just counterproductive, or they do something that's out of alignment with the values, but they bring a lot of value. Those ones are more difficult. Like I've done everything, like move them away from people, and like don't let them interact with people. Like isolate them. I've tried uh, being direct and having conversation, and giving examples of why this is, this is probably the best way to do it, is to like treat it head on directly, tell them the expectation, tell them that their behavior is not in alignment with the company's goals. And if they can't get in alignment with that, then we're going to need to move on from them. Those generally are probably the best way to approach it, instead of just like ignoring the problem and moving them off to a different area of the organization. But yeah, I've made all the mistakes you can make with those types of people. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, with the conversations we'd have with our management team was like, if we can get to this number of employees, then we can get, we'll have the technical capability, or we'll put this person with that person, and we'll tell the person that's training or that's getting trained, hey, you're going to be with this guy, just ignore this element of him. Like we did everything that, I don't know whether it was right or wrong. Like you don't know. It's just like you kind of you fumble through it the best way that you can. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the best thing to do is put the organization's values first, be honest and direct with the person. And if they're unwilling, then you probably have to work them out ultimately.
Yeah. So I'm just tracking the business and like where you came in. So you came in, you built up that kind of department or area of the business. Where are you now, or like where is that in your journey within the business?
Yeah, so 2023, I hired a new ops manager, he's a weapon. He's unbelievable. He took over the residential business for me. He had run a competitor that was much larger, and had a background in regional retail, like big box stores. So he's a really, really skilled sales manager and operations manager. So I replaced myself with him, which was a great move. And yeah, they're in a great spot. I think they got 50 employees now in that division. Yeah, it's doing really well. And then I moved into sort of like working directly underneath my dad for a couple of years after I left the residential division. And now, now it's just me And then the ops manager, Jeff, reports to me. And then our commercial ops manager, Patty, reports to me as well. And then our CFO and our CMO. So that's kind of where it's at. I think our fiscal year end is in 2 weeks, and we should finish around 33 million in top line this year. And we have 120 employees, 80 something vans.
Nice. One of the things I think you said earlier on was, like, before you step back into the business, you're like, oh, it's like, how would I lead these tough guys? Like some resistance to step back into the business in terms of you trying to make changes. What's that been like in terms of, you're the boss's son, you're coming into the business. I don't know if the term like earning leadership or earning respect from the team, but like what's that been like for you stepping into a family business with people that might have been there a lot longer than you, or have been around for a long time, and now you're the leader?
I mean, the nice thing about going over and sort of starting the residential business was that there wasn't really that many people that from the original group that came over. There's only one lady from the call center. She was the person who used to dispatch me as a child, and she came over and worked with me. And so she took care of me. She was almost like a mother figure for me. So working together with her was really nice. But I was fortunate. I got to basically start a new organization within an already successful organization. And I essentially had a safety net. I could just break even. And some years I lost money, and it was okay because there was enough money and success in the organization already that we could take some risks and try some things. And so I basically got to grow up as an operator within the protection of this business. And 10 years of running it really flew by fast. And then I just sort of woke up one day and thought, geez, we built something pretty sizable. Like, we were the same size in revenue as the other division, kind of neck and neck all the way along. We still are. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I could do it. And it's all just kind of the same as managing finite amount of resources and deciding strategically what you want to do and how you want to grow. And I don't know. Yeah. Eventually you just have enough confidence that it's okay. And now a lot of those people, like there's a guy that's been here since he was hired like a week after I was born. He changed my diapers. We'd come over for dinner before my dad even had an office and eat dinner with my mom and dad and help change my diapers.
That's wild. I guess what I'm hearing in that story, though, is within the business, you started a separate business. So you got kind of to build it from the ground up and then it grew so much that there's a lot of evidence and confidence, and people probably were like, you've earned respect by building what you've built, versus something's been built and you just slotting in right away into something, which might be harder because there's more resistance from existing employees or team. But that you earned it by building a part of the business versus just stepping into one. Does that kind of like resonate?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly. And I'm pretty confident now, even if I didn't do that I would have found a way. Like, I'm just naturally competitive, and I understand. I've always wanted to make this business bigger and stronger and more successful. So I would have found a way, but that was certainly a good way to do it in retrospect. I don't know whether that was my dad's plan all along, but if it is, he looks like a genius. But it worked out well, and was glad to have done it that way.
Yeah. What have been some of the biggest challenges for you leadership wise? Like stepping back, like bigger picture, we talked a little bit more specifically about how you had to grow that department, but like what have been the most sleepless nights for you?
Yeah. I think in the early days, just people that report to you, there can be some, personality conflicts or some issues um, around like managing people for performance and things. So some of the direct reports in the early days would have given me fits. Just just getting used to managing people. Now that stuff is no problem. But like if you had to go sit down with somebody and either write them up or let somebody go or have a difficult coaching conversation, like I would lose sleep for days, ruin weekends for me when I first started. And now it's like, it's like stress exposure, I suppose. You just, you do something enough times and it just becomes easier. So in the early days, it was kind of like that. And then, as you progress and you start leading leaders and you really get intimate with what somebody's thought process is and what's important to them in their life. And, you feel like it's your job, and it is, to provide that person growth and give them the best for themselves and for their family. And so I take it seriously, that responsibility. And so sometimes if you do things that are perhaps in the organization's best interest in the long term, but not in that person's organization or that person's interest in the short term, there can become friction, and you feel, a responsibility to your leaders. So definitely noticed that as I've gotten older, that sometimes you have to make a tough call that somebody doesn't necessarily is not helpful for one of your leaders in the short term, and that's never fun.
How do you navigate that?
You just have to be as transparent and clear and communicative, and don't operate, secretly. You can just why explain why you're doing something. I guess another in that note would be like cash management and profitability. Those can be difficult things to manage, right? Like if you're taking some risk that consumes some cash, it can strain the organization. Or, for example, we bought a building and renovated the building, and then had some construction projects that weren't going particularly well at the time. And so it really strained the short-term cash position of the business. And those were not fun times for our leadership group, and for anybody really. You're making a bet that expanding your business and buying a bigger facility is going to precipitate growth in the future, which it ultimately did. But in the short term, your cash position's a little bit strained, and your vendors are asking for money, and you're having to be careful with what you release. And so it can strain the relationship with your management team if they want to buy this nice shiny toy, and you're like, well, sorry, we bought our nice shiny toy, this is what we're paying for right now. So I definitely had some challenging learnings with just being a little too bold in situations where maybe I shouldn't have been, and then having to navigate the challenges after.
What's it like in those moments So maybe there's somebody on your team that end up listening to this that wants to grow into a more leadership position, or you're talking to somebody that's in that kind of mode. What's it really like when you're tight on cash and you're the one calling the shots?
Honestly, yeah, there's probably nothing worse as a business owner. It's probably the most stressful thing. I don't know. Have you been in that position? Have you felt that before?
Yeah. I like, it's hard not to go into panic mode, like survival mode. And for me, it's either I tend to kind of freeze. Like some people fight, flight or freeze in moments. I tend to, like, if I'm overwhelmed and I'm burnt out, I'm like, brain's just going a million miles an hour, but going nowhere. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of the feeling.
Well, if anxiety is greater than your brain's ability to process, it's like if you have an exam the next day and you realize that you are completely screwed, you're not going to be able to actually absorb any of the information because you're too panicked. I'd like to think I do a decent job at this point managing crisis. There's been a couple of them over the years. We've had some profitability issues in some years, and we've had some cash management issues in some years, and we've had some times where, as a result of some of those situations, we've had to, make some decisions about staffing and some difficult decisions. Either growing too fast or not being strategic enough or not managing the cash well enough. And your job in those moments is to bring clarity and calm to the team, in that you see a way out of it, and you can only control what you can control, but you can't be the one panicking. If you're the one panicking, then everybody else is going to jump, right? Like you got to be as calm as possible. So like when those moments happen, I become acutely aware that this is where I'm needed to be steady and calm.
You're being called up to play at a different level.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. It sucks when it happens.
What have you learned about yourself in those moments?
Probably that I can handle more stress than I thought I could. And that it becomes a little easier when you're able to when your brain can actually process solving a difficult problem and you're not panicking. I haven't ever got to the point where I wasn't able to handle it. They would be like prolonged periods of intense, like probably like 2-3 week periods of like intense stress where like afterwards you need to decompress, but you can get through it. So every time you do that, I guess it's, you have a bit more risk tolerance, because you learn how to deal with it and you're confident you can go through it again. But you have to be the person that has the clear exit or plan how to get out of it and keep your team calm through good communication and logic, even if you're generally the optimist, right? I am generally the optimist, right?
Yeah. How have you managed yourself? Like, it sounds like you do a pretty good job of staying clear and focused. What's worked for you really well over the last couple of years to self-manage and put yourself in a state where you can meet those moments well?
I don't know, therapy and endurance sports. Yeah.
Tell me about both. Like, how have they fit together for you and how have they helped?
Endurance sports help a lot, just because I can either think really clearly or not think at all, or whatever it needs to be is what it is, and that's fine. And I just like to be uh, alone, with endorphins pumping through my body and taking care of my body, and yeah, that gives me a lot of clarity. But yeah, I've had some brushes with anxiety where maybe the stress gets too much, and then I don't sleep well enough, and then I don't take care of myself. I don't eat good enough, and I maybe drink too much, or all those combinations happen, and then it's like a toilet when it flushes, right? It can be debilitating, um, and so I know that about myself, and my job is to make it so that it's harder for the toilet to flush, right? So you don't completely burn out mentally. And yeah, so when it does happen where I sort of burn myself out is where like I mentioned, where I have high periods of stress. I don't exercise well enough or consistent enough. I don't eat consistent enough. I don't sleep consistent enough. And perhaps I drink too much. And all those things happen together, and it's not a good outcome. And it's easy to have happen when you have a high stress um, life. So I'm aware of all those things and try to be as regimented as I can to avoid ending up in a situation like that.
Yeah. How have
Yeah.
kids added to the mix with all of that stuff? Like, because there's all the business stuff, there's all the things, and then like managing family at the same time. What have you learned? Actually, I'm curious, like, what have you learned about leadership by being a parent?
Well, I know that children are always watching you, and they don't have a filter in any way. So they'll tell you what they're observing, and what comes back to you is sometimes not what you'd like to hear about yourself. So they're like a very honest mirror. And so when you think about the fact that they're watching you and they can see these things about you that you don't love about yourself, for sure your employees can see this, or your peers. It's yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed. So they keep you grounded. Um, there's just less time, so time becomes more important when you have more children, or children at all, right? You start thinking about time differently, and what's important, and that's, I don't know, it's a cliche, but it does the same thing to everybody's brain, I suppose. Right? You're very, very aware that you have less time, so you know, even just people calling to check up on you, or making time to go for coffee or have lunch. When you appreciate time, you understand that somebody really cares about you, that they're willing to spend that time with you, because everybody's giving up their time to be with one another, right? So kids definitely have changed my relationship with time.
Yeah. Speaking of time, when you look to the future, what are you excited about? And like, is this like, would you want your kids to step into this? Like, tell me a little bit about what the vision is and what you're excited about.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to whether I want them to or not. I think I sort of have like a 15-year window, because I'm 35 now, and my youngest is 1. So by the time I'm, 51, 52, she'll be off to university. So that's kind of like the window I have to like be as present as humanly possible in their lives, but also like build the business. This is kind of like my last really, be the biggest chunk of time where I'll probably make the highest contribution to both those things. So I'm kind of like right in pretty critical time. And when I think back, 15 years ago, feels like yesterday. I was just leaving university. So it's not that long of a period of time. So this is really like the block of thinking that I'm in right now is like the next 15 years. So I'm really excited for my kids to get into sports and whatever activities, and watching them make friends and develop as people. And I'm just excited to have roots down. We've got our family home where we're going to live, and this is the formative years of my children's life. It's super critical. It's like I remember that part of my life vividly, and my parents doing such a great job. So for me, that's what I'm excited about, and that's kind of the zone that we're in. Mm-hmm. If they want to be involved, great. I don't know what it's going to look like by then. It's so far away. Conceivably, it'll be larger and more complicated. We'll see. We'll see what the world looks like then. I don't think that robots are going to be plumbers by then, but who knows? I mean, Elon's planning on sending robots to Mars to build the first, colony there. So if they're particularly good at that, I can't see why they wouldn't be particularly good at plumbing or HVAC. So it's a little scary to think about.
Yeah. In the more short-term future, what about the vision for the business? Like, what are you working on? What are you excited about right now?
Man, it's super boring and super simple. We're a service business that's in the service business to be in the replacement business at the end of the day, right? You acquire customers, you do a good job for them so that they come back. And then when it's time for their system to fail, they'll call you. We're pretty clear on our two target markets. We have our business, the B2C, where we focus on Mrs. Jones's house, and our client is somebody that likes to maintain their home and look after their investment and wants their white glove service. And our second business is B2B, strata corporations and multifamily towers, and doing maintenance for those people. Those are kind of the two key segments. And we think we can grow both of those consistently year over year over year by just doing a good job. And that's really the strategy. It's not super complicated. It's a boring business that's critical to our society and infrastructure. And Vancouver is just a really great market. The city is constantly densifying. So the target markets that we've chosen, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we think that they're sort of recession proof. I mean, they are recession proof. You look at what's going on with new construction and development in Vancouver, and we don't experience the same swings that they do, and challenges. And we're just trying to build a great, solid, repeatable, boring business.
Boring doesn't mean bad. I think sometimes it has a bit of a connotation that like, oh, it's boring, whatever. But
I like boring.
Boring's good. Boring's consistent. Boring's more predictable. I think that's what most business owners actually kind of want at the end of the day.
Like predictability is wonderful. It's great because your fixed costs are predictable. They're there every month. So why not make your revenue predictable as well, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a certain amount of infrastructure to have a good business. But if your revenue's jumping all over the place, like it's no fun.
Yeah. What's hard now as you step into this phase, like current phase that you're in? Must be the most challenging for you.
Oh man, what's the most challenging? I guess right now we're really just like trying to determine how much we want to grow. We haven't really like made a commitment as a group, as our leadership group. We're sort of in this like mode of we're really focused on doing the little things well and being really stable and profitable, but we don't really know what's next and where we're, we don't have like a BHAG right now, or like a growth plan. We're just sort of like 1 to 3 years is just, really dial in, be really good at service, because the last few years were really boom and bust with how easy it was to make money on install, and that world's kind of gone. And so we've had to really focus on shifting to service. So like I guess the challenge is it is a little bit boring right now. It's like I want to do a bit more and take a bit more risk, but like we kind of have to just like do the boring stuff right now. And it's kind of hard to balance, like, how much do we want to grow and what do we want to do? And we're just kind of we're not sure where we want to go next. We don't have a ton of clarity on how aggressive and how big. So that's been frustrating a little bit lately, but that's what we're focused on is good. Like it's the right thing.
But it sounds like you kind of like having clarity of some vision or having a goal to shoot for. And when you don't have that, what's that like?
Yeah. I mean, we have clarity around like, the next 1 to 3 years. It's just kind of have to get there before we can set sort of a grander vision of what we really want. And I don't know. I'm kind of in a rush to try and grow a little bit more, but everybody else is like pretty, let's be methodical and for good reason. I mean, we've certainly gotten a little bit overzealous. I've gotten a little overzealous in the past and gotten us into a little bit of trouble. So there are good checks in the organization, right? Like I'm sort of the one that's, hey, let's go. Well, I was like a little bit like my dad was, right? Whereas the leadership team is, rightly, these are the rules of the game and the resources we have to operate within. Like, chill out. Like, we'll get there.
Keep you in check a little bit.
Yeah, it's really necessary. It's healthy. Absolutely. But it's interesting. I kind of know now what my dad probably felt when I was like reporting to him, because he would be sort of the ideas guy and be pushing for crazy stuff. And now I'm the crazy idea guy. So it's like the roles have sort of switched a little bit, but it's super healthy. Like that's what an organization needs. Somebody dreaming up crazy stuff and only about 10% of their ideas are any good or worth pursuing. And then you have a good team that makes sure the trains leave on time. So aware of it. It's just like, sometimes I'm like, man, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's buy this. They're like, no, we don't have time or money to do that. Stop.
Yeah. What else would you want to share? Like, let's say your team's listening to this. What didn't we touch on about leadership, your leadership, that feels important to pass on or would be a miss if we didn't talk about it?
I don't know. What do you think? What What would you say? I don't. I've kind of covered sort of my philosophies and thoughts, but what do you observe when you talk? I don't know. What do you think I should touch on?
I don't know. I always just like asking the question to see if there's something like bubbling in the background. Um,
No, I mean, I like the stuff we talked about just now is like pretty recent observation. So that's
yeah.
kind of one thing that is kind of on my mind. Is just that um, I'm observing that there is often a person in the organization that's pushing, and there's people that need to keep the guardrails on, and I didn't really notice that that's what was happening, and then I finally figured out that's what was happening, and so um,
Well, so on that note, what's it before you noticed and were aware of that being the pattern? What did it feel like to be in that?
to be honest, like a little bit lonely. It's like, oh, like why aren't people wanting to do this or try this, or why are they holding back, or why are they so cautious, or whatever. Um, so you think it's you just sort of take it personally, like what the heck, like I thought that was a good idea, you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, definitely like a little lonely, a little frustrating, but then once you realize that it's a good dynamic and it's a good thing, and that it's a sign of a healthy organization, and that you're lucky to have people like this, um, it's okay.
Yeah, it kind of reframes it from, oh, this is a healthy thing versus like being deflated and feeling like you're shut down and nobody gets you kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like you just have to see it from their perspective, right? And so yeah, I guess yeah, it's kind of like it's a cliche in business, right? That like the visionary integrator, but like when it actually plays out and you see it happening, it's like, oh man, this is like so true. This, it's cool when you see these things, these patterns that have been written in business books, and then they kind of smack you in the face, like in reality, like wow, these are kind of truisms of human behavior and organizational behavior.
Yeah, it's so different. Like whenever I read a book, I understand things conceptually and like, oh yeah, I get that. That makes perfect sense. I can kind of see it. But it's so different when like it actually shows up in your life and there's like an embodied understanding of, oh, I get it now. It's just such a different layer of knowledge, I think. And yeah, I'm always fascinated with that and how do you help people see things differently, um, and understand things differently, because it's like, oh, go read this book, but it's not the same as like go experience this thing. And like
Exactly.
how do we set up our teams and our leadership teams and the whole company to help people understand things more on that like embodied level and teach that way.
Have you yeah, I guess one like leadership thing that I find challenging. I don't necessarily th- think I have the answer, but yeah, maybe I guess I have an outlet for it. But when you're the top of the organization and you don't necessarily have a boss, you could and you can't necessarily talk to your team, or you feel like you can't talk to your team about something, or you can talk to them, but like you'd rather talk to somebody that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm there's certain things you can't talk about, I guess, and you need other people to talk to. Have you been in that spot where like you, you need to talk to somebody else?
Yeah, I have a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's something about like my wife's amazing. I can talk to her about pretty much everything, but there's a different kind of outlet that I can go deeper on with my coach. I've been that person for a lot of people. And that's the thing that I hear a lot of is there are some things that you can't talk with your team about. There's some things that they may not get. And it is lonely and isolating. And who are those people that will get it? Because a lot of people aren't entrepreneurs. You might have great friends that are leaders, but it's not the same as like calling all the shots and having all the responsibility on you. But yeah, having that like inside person that can still be objective somehow, so valuable. And I think it's overlooked a lot because often when I do end up working with clients, they're like, oh, it's so nice to have somebody like gets me and can like go into conversation, go to those depths of the conversation where it needs to go to like get some clarity and have some sounding board. But
yeah, no, I think it's super important. I try to talk to like peer companies as much as possible.
are they pretty open?
Locally, I have a handful of guys here locally, but most of like the really deep relationships would be like people in different markets that I've just intentionally developed friendships with over time. But yeah, if I'm really like in a bad spot or lost on something or just need to talk to somebody, I talk to some of these peers that I have. But yeah, peer groups or masterminds, like I think those are pretty valuable places to go.
Watching the time, I don't want to drag this out, but I have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Let's say new employees just joined the team and they watch this conversation. What's the one thing that you'd want them to take away?
Well, I would like them to know that we do everything we can to design a system so that they can earn as much as they can here, and that we're gonna support them on that journey. And ultimately, we'd like everybody that joins us to be here for a long time. So from like an employee development perspective, and then I'd like them to understand that one of our core values is continuous improvement. So we're always going to be aiming to get better every day. So we expect them to get better, but also we expect ourselves to get better. So if there's something that they see that they don't like or that we think we can do better, we want to hear about it. My door's open, and we're always willing to learn and get better. And we've been in our community for 40 years, and we have a reputation of doing quality work and doing things right no matter what. And they've probably heard that. And so we want to make sure that we continue doing that.
Yeah. And then my final question, what's one thing about leadership that you've learned that you would tell yourself when you first started? Maybe not when you're 15, but like when you step back into the business. What's the thing that you would have benefited to hear?
Listen more than you speak. Yeah. Get good at listening. It would be that'd be it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing a little bit of your world and your leadership with us.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah. Awesome.